Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. How are we getting on? So, we're back on Spectacle Island again, in the southeast corner, and we're going to be building a little place for Paladin Danse this time. So we're going to pull this shack out, and this is where we're going to work. As always, if you like what you see, do hit those wonderful buttons, and let's get stuck in. So, as you're probably aware, this is a little bit late. I've been away this weekend. Went away for my 10th anniversary, so that's kind of knocked me back a bit, but I've got the whole week off this time, so hopefully we'll be able to do a little bit more this week. So, yeah. As you may be aware, later on through the Brotherhood quest line, trying to avoid any heavy spoilers, Paladin Danse will need his own little space, and I didn't just want to recreate the bunker he ends up camping out in. I wanted to do something a little bit more unique. So, I've gone for a bit of a fort type thing, sort of castle build, which is a little small, but I kind of like it. It's not perfect for him, but the result's pretty good, I think. So building up using the stone pieces from USO. I'm actually using the wood tab ones at the minute here, but I'll switch over to the concrete ones in a bit, because the wall thicknesses are still the same as your standard wooden one here, and it's just a bit too thin. But we're just getting an idea of where we want the floor to sit, how big we're going to build the thing here. There we go. It looks sort of like that. Now, in a way it's a disadvantage starting at the top like that, but you can see what you're doing a little better if you do. So, when you come to put these lower levels on, fiddle about with it, take your time. I said something fairly similar when I did Hancock's place as well. Well, that was the other way round. If you get that first piece in right, which I actually don't here, but we get there in a minute, you can just snap everything else straight onto it, and it goes much quicker after that. This one goes in more neatly. So we'll position it carefully. Trick is to get it low enough that you can snap to it, but high enough that it doesn't leave a gap. So it does take a bit of fiddling, but we get there. It's still not quite there now. Won't snap. Punch it down ever so slightly. Still got no gap, and look at that. We just run all the way around now, and just snap that one in as well. There we go. Unfortunately, as my plan was to have a room underneath the courtyard there, the floor's not quite in the right place, so we'll just speed through this bit and I'll show you the adjustments I made and how I did it. So the floor was sticking up too much, the ground rather, there, so I just put the lower level back in and worked from that. And just put a wall piece in and then a shack upper floor. Just allowed me to snap that foundation on the left there straight into place, so we've got a straight line to work from as well. Which was much easier than the first time I did it. Yeah, simple as that. So, we have a square block, which is basically where we start off. This is where I switched over to the concrete pieces. As I say, the wooden ones are just too thin to be in any way believable for a fortification of any kind. There we go. You can see what we've done there. I've moved the entrance to the lower level into the corner there, so it just works better. So once we eventually get these in, we had a slight error here. The thing you need to remember when you're using concrete pieces is they will snap in a lot more places, so you've got to make sure that if you're going to put an upper floor on, or any kind of roof at all, that your wall pieces are outside of the floor pieces. So we'll adjust it in just a moment, you'll see what I'm talking about. Which is a lesson I should have remembered from doing my prison build a while back, but it was a while back. Yeah, you see, it's just not going to fit. It's kind of useful in the sense you've got a lot more options with it, but you do have to make sure you plan ahead. So we'll pull those corner pieces off, just drop everything back in when it decides to stop being so obstinate. There we go. So this is going to form the main building inside the castle. And there we go, fits nice and neatly now, where it does when you use the upper one. courtesy of the door I'm going to put in over this entrance here, you do need to double up the wall thickness, so we'll do that in just a moment. The double thickness upper floors also won't fit, they won't snap through it, so I used single ones in the end. But as I'm putting an extra floor on, the walls on the upper floor just block out the light quite neatly anyway, so it doesn't matter. It's only the top floor you really need to use the upper floors pieces for. There we go, nice simple staircase. Well, that's the door I wanted to work with. I had this in mind right from the beginning, so I'm pleased I managed to make it work. Another USO object, and it rug glitches in quite nice and neatly. It's actually a bit of an odd size, so I had to put a couple of pillars on the edge there to make it fit, which did present a slight problem. It's also very thick, this door, as you can see. And with those pieces on, the walls no longer line up. So it just snaps an extra wall on there, which I'll match up on the other side, so that the room's sort of uniform inside, rather than lopsided, which would be annoying. There we go, rug glitches in nice and easy. As I say, the upper floors don't quite fit, but when I put just standard floors in, it does work very nicely. Made a slight adjustment on the staircase here. So originally I was using warehouse stairs, but the railings on the top section there, obviously the door's going to go straight through them every time you open it. Which doesn't stop it opening, but it does make it a little unbelievable. So this is a scaffolding stair that I've just pillar glitched in. Just reasonably easy, apart from the fact it's a very confined space, so you can't really see what you're doing. You've got to line it up and just move very carefully. And because you're pillar glitching as well, select all. You only get one shot at it, unless you want to start all over. Now, if anybody can spot the deliberate mistake, you can have 10 points. Well, I'll tell you what it was in a minute. The other mistake I did make is with these curved pieces. There are actually two different sizes. There's this one which is sort of halfway through the menu, and a larger one which is right at the end. And if you plan on putting floors inside these things, you need the larger ones. They look better as well. But if you try and put floors inside these smaller ones, the pieces either won't go in, or where they do go in, they stick through the walls. Look utterly stupid, so I ended up having to tear down so many times and redo this. It was really frustrating. Which is part of the reason you didn't get this build on Friday, because I had to tear down, redo so many times and faff around. It just didn't want to play ball. So the other thing to make sure you do is make sure you get the initial piece in the right place, and then everything matches up nice and neatly. Yeah, there's a slight issue with the floor we were seeing before. It won't snap through with the door there. But skipping past my faffing, soon figure out the half thickness ones will. There we go. This build took quite a long time because there was a lot of figuring out and faffing around and pulling down stuff, redoing before I got it right, but the end result I'm pretty pleased with. I'm not quite convinced it really works as a place for dance, but as a build in and of itself it does work pretty well, so after having put all that time and effort in, there was no way I was giving up on it. I'm far too stubborn for that. I do wish the textures on these floor pieces all matched up. That does bug me a lot. But what can you do if you want a staircase? Ah yes, so in a moment we'll put an extra layer on the walls and an extra height on there, so that we haven't got the building just sticking over the fortifications, and it'll give us the opportunity to put some battlements on as well. These doors will provide access to that. And there we go. So I've figured out my deliberate mistake now. There are 3 or 4 very similar stone textures, and I would strongly suggest you write down which one you're using and stick it on a post-it note somewhere to hand, because if you get distracted and start using the wrong one, it can be a very long time before you realise that it doesn't match up, which is what happened to me, and it was extremely annoying because I had to pull down literally half the darn build. That door moves really quickly, and it's very loud. So yeah, I basically had to pull down half of the build and redo it, because it was all the wrong texture. But then I got everything right, and it looks much better. What I was saying about the floors snapping before, you can see they go in nice and easily here, but they just don't behave that well if you use the wrong size wall pieces. And that took me a disgustingly long amount of time to figure out as well. I got very frustrated doing this. Glad it turned out well. As for the daylight showing around these floor pieces, I did figure it out and just pull them out, swap them out with the upper floor pieces. But that is pretty much the main structure. I did try and put, as you can see, spiral staircases in the towers, but you wouldn't have had the clearance for your head, and they wouldn't fit in at all anyway, so I couldn't use them. But I was really pleased with how they came out, so I wanted to show them off anyway, which is why I left that in. I actually left it sat there for ages because I was just so pleased with it, but kind of disappointed it wouldn't work. Anyway, in order to put battlements in, we want sort of chest-high walls. But the floor pieces won't just snap halfway up a wall. They'll do it at the top or the bottom, and that's it. So we use that half-height warehouse girder support thing, just to get the upper level to snap on like that. Nice and easy. Solves the problem. Unfortunately, you can't really line up very neatly here. Not if you want to use the door anyway, so we moved it off to the side like that, and I'll just put a plywood board over the hole in a minute. Which is not ideal, but at least you're not going to fall down the hole. So at the front of the build, we need a way to get up to the towers now. Much easier at the back because they're just more or less a single height. But they're 1.5 at the front, so this is a scaffolding ladder, which is still not quite tall enough, but it does do the job eventually. And it took a bit of fiddling around to get it in, because you basically have to eyeball it, as it just won't snap to anything that isn't scaffolding. So select all, move it in, and it works. Also, as the pillar won't clip through the floor, you've got to get the height correct the first time before you move it in, so much faffing. But we get there in the end. So, with the build basically done now, I wanted to put something inside the courtyard. And I do quite like these capsules, but the pre-made ones I've just shown you there won't sit on a player-made floor. They just won't do it. These frames, however, that you self-assemble, they will. In fact, you can use select all just to sink right through if you've used the right floor pieces, which turned out to be quite handy. On the other hand, you have to put them together manually, which is kind of annoying. So you have to use select all like this to get everything to sit in, and it's quite a faff, because you can't really see the whole thing. Or if you can, you're standing so far away from it you can't see what you're doing anyway. But, you know, perspective and fallout. We'll fiddle with it for a bit, it goes in. They have very, very soft edges, which helps. And I've saved, skipped past a lot of the fiddling around, so you get the idea without enduring the pain I had to get it right. But I wanted to show you just because it's kind of cool, and you can do a lot with it. A lot more than I actually do here. I'll give you an idea of how they work as well while we're at it. There we go, you can see it moving in nice and neatly. It's the drawback to pillar glitching in something that's that big though, you have to stand a long way back. We're actually standing on upper floor pieces here, so you're able to sink into it, and the legs don't stick through the bottom too much. So, tour time. As I said, we're rather struggling for time, or I was just before the weekend. In fact, I completely ran out. So, decoration's a little minimal. But you get the gist. It looks pretty cool. That bridge was dead simple to put in. I wanted a bit more of a drawbridge effect for it. Fortunately, I couldn't have very good doors on there, but, you know, what can you do? I faffed with that for ages trying to get it right, but got as close as I could in the end. But putting the bridge in, as I say, was fairly simple. You just select all with the concrete pillar as per and just move it in. So we have a little crafting area. And the capsule here which slightly floats with the steps, but it's not actually a problem, as you can see, smooth as you like. This is a kind of guard post. The only mechanical defences in place are the spotlights. Everything else just didn't fit really with the build, even those were pushing it a bit. Little storage area, so there's no turrets or anything on here. Clearly the occupying personnel will just have to be providing the defence themselves. Let's put a little firing range in. Got counter pieces, supposedly high-tech counters, but I don't really see what's high-tech about them. But yeah, so little counters so you stand behind and some targets down the end there. Chain link fences keep people out of the firing line quite nicely, and they fit in with the world very well. I really like those tables. I've actually glitched two of them together there, but they look really cool. We've got some monitoring stations. That's actually a replica from the teleporter, but it's the only thing that lights up, and they look really cool, and people actually interact with that. Some Yuki-Cola machines and stuff, in case the soldiers want a drink. It's only going to be dancing here, but you know. This I'm really pleased with. A friend of mine is in the army, and he's going to remain nameless. He was stationed somewhere that is also going to remain nameless a while back, and he said the officers basically moved their wardrobes, I'll wave my hands around here, back to back, just like you can see there. We haven't actually got wardrobes in Fallout for some reason, which is kind of annoying. But they basically did that to create sort of bedrooms for themselves, give them a bit of privacy within the limited space they had available. Which is a really cool idea. I thought I'd recreate it there. So there's a little nod to him there. And he'll know exactly who he is if he sees this video. So, hi. Up to the towers, as I say, a normal build I might put turrets up here, but it just wouldn't fit on here. So, I'm going to have to stand up there with the laser rifles. Not that a power armoured soldier is really going to look like he's in place there, but you know, whatever. I did put railings around these for a while, but really didn't like the look, so those came right back out. Would have liked to get some crenellations on there, but again, not an option. Not how it fit in anyway. There's that little bit of board I was talking about before. I've got a little dining space and cooking area at the other end for them. Not much going on the roof, just access to the towers really. And for some reason those radar dishes seem to just change the direction they're facing whenever they like. It's weird. I don't know what it is, but I've used them a couple of times and that keeps happening. But I wanted something up there. So we've got a little seating area, a little workspace, and onto the vault. I do really like these doors. Do slightly clip through the upper floor, but you know, what can you do? Down the stairs. This is where my lack of junk decoration really does show up, but there's a time. There's this kind of a maintenance area for the power. Oh, so that was what I had in mind. I actually had to change the floor out and then rug and pillar glitch the generator in because it was poking through the ceiling and you could see it in the courtyard. So here we have Dance's little shrine to his Brotherhood, or his former Brotherhood days. Spoilers. So we've got his old suit of power armour here, Brotherhood jumpsuit, flags and laser weapons and such like. Gatling laser there. Some ammo, somewhere for him to work on his power armour. All tucked away out of sight, because I don't think it would... well, by the time this is sort of supposed to be set, although I haven't actually progressed that far through the quest line, just look at the lights here, I'm really pleased with this. Yeah, he wouldn't want this on display. You see, it's all powered by the one switch. That is cycling lights for that. I'm quite pleased with the result there. I like the idea that lights only come on when you open the door. You see how fast the door is here because I just get catapulted back out by it. And there we go. So we'll have a quick look around the place in the night in a moment. I'm going to give up trying to close the doors because yeah, it's a pain to do without the hold on. We'll move through this a bit more quickly, just because there's nothing new to see. It just looked quite cool there. We have a slight bugbear with the fact that the spotlights shine through all the solid surfaces, but it is what it is. Loads of junk around to give it a lived-in feel. The sort of little staircase there, obviously it doesn't go anywhere, it's just something to add a bit of texture and break up the look a little bit. A little shufty around the inside. More storage there. There's a rather unsubtle wire at the top of these stairs, but I may go and fix it at some point. I was getting pretty tired by the time I finished this. So. Really curious as to why we have no wardrobes in this game. Doesn't make much sense, that. Bugs me a little bit. There we go. I'd like some more options for targets as well. But sure, using radar mannequins, I couldn't really come up with much. I did think about putting a railing around the inside of this walkway on the battlements here, but again, it was just a bit too much. So I think you just got to be sensible and not fall off. It's not that far down anyway. So we'll nip back downstairs and have a quick look at the vault again. Yeah, as I say, I like the idea that on the surface of it, Danse has moved on, but in reality hasn't at all, and he still keeps his old gear locked away and out of sight, but well maintained and ready should he ever need to call on it. It's a bit of the Dark Knight Rises theme to that in a way, but you know, it works. I like it. I'm not overjoyed about having to use the regular texture for a powered door. Hopefully at some point we'll get stone texture on these as well. Well, I can only work with what I have available. Anyway, that's pretty much it. I do hope you like this one. Certainly a pain in the neck to build. As always, if you did, hit those wonderful buttons. And you can follow me on social media. I'm on Facebook and Twitter. / Darth Xion Games. And with any luck, we'll have 3 videos this week, but make up for the lack last week. But I will be speaking to you soon. Thank you very much for watching.